Welcome to Let's Talk Color.
I'm Amy Wolf, Principal Designer at Amy Wolf Color and Design.
And I'm Amy Crane, Founding Designer at Amy Crane Color. We're both professional color experts who specialize in architectural color. We met while training, and years later, the conversation is still going strong.
We both live our lives immersed in color and design. We often agree, but sometimes we don't, because color is personal. Color truths, however, are universal.
In each episode, we'll unravel the mystery of choosing color for your home or business, both inside and out. Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Paint Color. This is Amy Crane, owner of Amy Crane Color, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Amy Wolf.
Hello.
Yes, hello, who is the owner of Amy Wolf Color and Design. Today we're going to tackle a subject which really bothers many homeowners. And I think we'll start a way that we have one other time, which I think will be effective for this one. What do people really get wrong about rooms that are dark, and how do they approach it? Not a good way. So I think we're in agreement about one really major thing here. And so, Amy, why don't you dive in and tell everybody what they always get wrong?
I think one of the things that we certainly have heard year after year, consult after consult, is a client will show us a room that is inherently dark, and they will ask to make it lighter with white paint or a light color. Can we make this inherently dark room brighter, whiter with a light color paint? And the analogy I often use, which I think drives the message home, is that if you take an inherently dark room, whether it just doesn't have a lot of light, a lot of exposure, maybe a northern exposure, and you try to, if you paint it white, you're basically going to have something that looks like the color of dishwater. It's going to die, and so what I generally suggest is, let's just embrace what is. Let's take that inherently dark room, fill it with some kind of a rich, deep, dark, moody, interesting color, make a little jewel box out of it. Just get with the reality and run with it. So.
Yeah, I agree, Amy, completely. I think that it's sort of a natural inclination of people to say, it's so dark, let's put white in it, or a super light color. And I think that what they're not understanding, understandably, is that color is reflected light. So when you see a green wall, it's green because it's absorbing all the other colors in the visible spectrum, but it is reflecting green. So for reflections to happen, there needs to be light in the room. So without light to reflect color and lightness, you're not going to have a light room. Lightness and brightness are actually subjective perceptions, and the counterpoint to them is luminance, which is the intensity of light reflected off of a surface into the observer's eye, and that's measured in something called LRV, light reflectance value, and that is a number that you can find out about the paint color that you're using. So the higher the number, the closer to full reflectance or white, and the lower the number, closer to black. So getting back to where we started, if you want a room to feel brighter and it's inherently dark, you might have more success going with a color that has a similarly high LRV, but isn't white, so it won't look like dishwater, like yellow. Okay, if you don't like yellows, that's fine, don't go yellow. But you can use LRV, that number, to get a sense of how much light that color is going to reflect. But I agree, Amy, embrace is the big word here. It's reality. That room is dark, it's dark. So I always say my big word is distract, okay? Or 3 words, distract with drama. Distract with drama, so people aren't noticing or dwelling on the fact it's a really dark room. And so how do we have drama? We have drama from color, and we have drama from pattern. So I'm with you. Let's put some color in the room, even even dark colors. So, Amy, what kind of rooms do you like putting a darker color into when it's a naturally dark room? What types of room? What do you take into consideration? That kind of thing.
So I have what I consider my big four. And this is what I share with clients when we're looking for places to either go dark, bold, splash out a little bit, get a little more adventurous. And those are foyers, powder rooms, laundry rooms, and guest rooms. That's partially driven by function because we don't spend a lot of time in any of those four spaces. So particularly when a client is a little timid about going bold, those are rooms, your foyer, you come and go. It creates a dramatic, there we go, drama. It creates a dramatic entrance, to load an entry foyer with a dark or bold or dramatic color. But it's a low commitment in terms of time because you're just coming and going. We often see foyers from all around the house, but it serves as an accent and not really like a living space because it's really a traffic space. So foyers are great. A powder room is great because mostly that's a 5-minute relationship. You're not in there too long, so let's go with it. Let's do something a little crazy in there. Guest rooms, of course, are fun because you don't have to live in them, and it's just a fun place to play and experiment. And then laundry rooms, of course, because I think laundry should be made as fun as possible, however possible. And I think sometimes that means, coral or, a vivid turquoise or something. Maybe not a dark color, but certainly a bold color for a laundry room.
Oh, Amy, I agree. I agree with you. I was going to say, laundry room, I just wouldn't go dark because you really want to see the stains and the dirt and stuff like that.
Yeah. I will say there was one project I did in Florida a number of years ago, and the laundry room was quite visible. This was in a single-story condo, and the laundry room was quite visible from a lot of the passageways, the hallway, and that door stayed open a lot. And my client had those really cool, dark, metallic laundry machines, kind of like that gunmetal color. Mm-hmm. And so what I really wanted to do is I wanted to settle the laundry machines down so that you wouldn't see them from the hallway so much. So in that space, yes, I agree with you. Functionally, we want to be able to see stains, but the more important function of the wall color in that space was to camouflage those laundry machines. So we loaded that, pardon the pun, we loaded that laundry room. We put a dark, smoky gunmetal color on the walls. And so the washing machines just kind of disappeared.
That's great.
So there's an exception to every rule, right?
Yeah, and you know what? By mentioning, more of a bold color than a dark color, you did remind me that there is that other kind of approach that isn't going with a light color because it won't feel light, isn't going with a dark color because that's scary to some people, but is to go with a higher chroma color, a bolder color, more saturated, intense, colorful version of a color than you would in a room with lots of natural light, because that natural light, if you've got a bold orange or turquoise or something on the walls in a room that's dark, the lack of natural light is going to really temper that color. You're not going to see it at its full velocity. So it's really a great kind of room to put more color into, both from the standpoint of distraction and drama, and also from the standpoint of it not becoming overpowering because there isn't enough light for it to be overpowering. I would add to your list dining room, because I think it's important to also, when thinking about dark rooms, is to think about, not only the function of the room, but what time of day that you use it. So powder rooms share an attribute with dining rooms, believe it or not, and that powder rooms often don't have a window. Not always, but they often don't have a window. And therefore, they are illuminated by artificial light, your light fixtures. And dining rooms, generally, we're using in the evening so that it doesn't matter how much natural light it gets because it's dark outside. So both are rooms that are being used when you're lighting with your light fixtures. And though that should inform the kind of color that you use. You know, you can go dark, you can go dramatic. It's different. Its function is different. So that's important too.
I've also put interesting accent colors on dining room ceilings for the similar reason. You know, I think that we can do a little more drama in a dining room. So strong color on the wall, maybe a little interesting creative color on the ceiling as well. Because you're right. And functionally, we need to see what we're eating, but, you know, it's not like we're doing handwork or checking laundry stains or cooking.
Right, right. And you know, I mean, that also speaks to how adequate your chandelier is. And if it's on dimmers, you know, everyone loves dimmer, dimmer, dimmer. I'm really not a dimmer person for their light fixtures. I mean, I just really like a lot of bright light. But dining room is a room I think it's really important to have your light fixture on a dimmer. So you get that lighting just right for who's there, how many people are there, the temperature, the mood, how you're decorating your table, you know, the whole thing. So lighting is so important. You know, I'm thinking about a recent client I had, Amy. She's in Miami, and she had an open plan 1-floor house, three kids, she and her husband. There had been a lot of additions to the house, so it was not at all in the layout of a typical ranch. I mean, really kind of strange in a way. And these internal spaces in the middle that weren't near windows, you know, it was in the middle of this big space, but there were walls and partial walls that created these nooks. There was the this nook and the that nook. And she had sent me her inspiration pictures, and they were all white walls and white and a lot of light natural wood and a real particular look that's been trending over the last whole bunch of years. You know, those white, almost boho decorated spaces. And then she told me that she came to me because she tried to repaint a few times herself. And the problem was, even though she kind of wanted one color, she wanted a different feeling in each space. But the bigger problem was that this is classic. What looked good here didn't look good there. You know, so we got into the...
Oh, I see. Because of the light exposure, different...
Yes, because of the light exposures. Some areas...
Yeah, it looked good on one wall and didn't look good on another wall.
Right. And it was, you know, because it was all open plan, you know, you have to be so careful about where you make color changes. And so she wanted this kind of big, open, airy, white-ish space. But she couldn't deal with the fact that, you know, the same color would look crappy in the breakfast room part of the kitchen versus the living room or whatever. So, you know, first we went through the whole color is reflected light thing. We're so used to looking at all the colors of the four walls in a room, be it white or any color, and understanding that in the corners it's darker, across, you know, next to a window it's darker. We just understand it. We don't think twice about it. But I think when people are out there trying to pick a new color, they're really examining how the color looks in each part of it, of the space, and they're looking for consistency that you can't really have. So anyway, what we did was a bunch of different almost whites. They were warm. They were not clear, bright whites because she did have some really shadowy spaces. So we did a few different Sherwin-Williams whites. The trim was white flower. She wanted contrast. So we went with white flower, which is a really nice toned but lighter white in all of the house. And then we did different almost whites. We did cotton white. We did classic light buff. We did kestrel white.
I love kestrel white.
And so I gave her these, and I said, you know what? This is really nuanced. So you may not walk from one room to the other and say, wow, we just changed colors. Okay. And that's how we approached it. So that's a scenario where a client really insisted on having something white-ish, and we had to deal with the fact that some spaces were dark-ish.
Good. I was really scared you were going to tell me that you were putting in dark accent walls.
No, but you know what, Amy? No. But we did have an accent wall in the dining room, and it was a light tan. It was natural linen.
Uh-huh.
But I know, no, you. I know you and I have a very different propensity and tolerance for contrast in colors. My house, many rooms in my house are simply white, and I have an accent wall that's Pacific Sea teal, which has a really low LRV. You know, it's probably like under 10. So again, close to zero, and it's black, and so it's high contrast, and I like that.
That is different. That wall is different. I always say that an accent wall requires an architectural justification.
Right.
And that wall, dear listeners, I will tell you, sits sort of in the center of Amy's house. And all the rooms sort of flow around it. And that wall holds a television. And it sits almost like a sculptural presence.
It's a freestanding wall.
It is its own, and it's its own entity. And so in that case, that dark color I love. It makes so much sense. It does exactly the right thing. And I will say this about dark colors. If and the accent wall thing, if I can put a dark color behind a TV, I will always do that. Because what that's going to do is it's going to kind of help absorb the TV and make it disappear. I mean, people are doing these things with TVs now where the TV has artwork on it, and that's kind of cool because it looks like art. I've been fooled, I'm going to confess. Oh, well, fool me once. I've only been fooled once, and then the next time I saw the TV in another client's home, I was like, I know what you're up to here. But I do think for a regular traditional black hole in the wall TV, that loading a color behind it that's really dark and going to kind of reduce the contrast and absorb it is always a good thing.
Okay.
I think the same thing is true for bookcases that have a lot of stuff. When you want to kind of lower the contrast because it's visual contrast that draws your eye to things. And if you've got a bookcase that's got an awful lot of stuff on it and you want to kind of settle it down, what comes to mind is a bookcase one of my clients had that was filled with all the little arts and crafts projects her kids had made over the years. So it was very cute. It was really very heartfelt. It was in her bedroom, but in order to sort of calm the visual noise down, we put a darker color behind all that stuff. So it reduced the contrast and kind of absorbed the clutter a little bit. So, I mean, it was lovely clutter, but, it was still lots of visual data. But anyway, I don't for 1 second think I don't love that wall in your living room.
Okay. Thank God.
No, I think it's amazing. I think it's completely amazing. So, and that's, there's that functional thing,
Yeah.
Like what's it doing? So,
yeah. About bookcases, I had a client up in the capital region around Albany, and the husband was taking a room that was off the kitchen on one side, off the living room on the other. It must have been the dining room. Yeah, it was a dining room. But with all the work at home during COVID and all, he was turning it into his home office. And it wasn't a super dark room. I mean, it wasn't super bright, but it wasn't super dark. The husband veered towards brighter colors, so he was someone I had to kind of pull back a little bit. I kept hearing what he had to say and giving him the colors in that vein, but that were a little bit more tame than he was asking for. But the trim in that room was white. The ceiling was white. There was millwork on one whole wall, and it was white. He wanted to keep it so, but he wanted bright colors in there. So in the back of the bookcase, we put Hale Orange.
Oh, love.
Which is a beautiful orange, but kind of deep also. But the walls, the other three walls of the room, he wanted a bright color. And since the room wasn't that dark, I gave him a color. It was a turquoise, and it was definitely brighter than I would normally do. But it was on three walls, not four. The room was a little dark, so there was a situation where, higher chroma colors because a darker room.
The last office that I did was also for a client's husband, and he's the son of an interior designer, And he kind of hung off to the side until it was time to pick the color for his office. Again, this is a room just off the kitchen. He works from home. The room is a little on the dark side. There is a piano at one end, and we ended up going with Benjamin Moore's Claret from the Williamsburg collection, which is sort of a pinky corally kind of color.
Wow, bold for a guy.
I'm really excited. So that'll be a fun project.
Hats off to men who embrace colors that might be stereotyped as female colors, which is so silly. But colors in the orange, the warm ones, the hot ones, the orange, the pink, the red, the purple.
Yep. I did a coral bathroom here in Northampton last year, I think, during the pandemic, and we did tile halfway up the wall, and so the coral was, just a slice of coral in this bathroom, but it was essentially a white bathroom with very dark charcoal gray accents and coral above the tile, and just
Nice.
really, really gorgeous. And in that family, I've done a bunch of projects for these folks and over the years, and in that family, the husband is the lead designer in the group.
Nice.
So yeah, that's fun. And that
Orange.
did you
Yeah,
say hail
hail
orange?
orange.
Right. Or hail orange, or I'm thinking, did I use hail orange or Tucker orange? One of those really strong orange colors I also put in a powder room in a project in Baltimore. And it was tiny, teeny tiny, with a sloped ceiling, and we just wrapped every single bit of paintable wall in that orange. So it was really great. Another one of my kind of favorite, I have a couple favorite purples that I use in powder rooms, also from that Williamsburg collection. When people love purple, but they're a little afraid to do purple elsewhere in the house, powder rooms are just perfect. Powder rooms are perfect for purple. How about that for some alliteration? So I love Carter Plum, which is a dark, rich, reddish, plummy purple. And then also there's a color called Pell Smokehouse that's kind of a smoky purple. It feels like a neutral with a strong purple undertone to it. And it's just a really interesting, dramatic, talk about going for the drama. And I've put that in libraries, music rooms, powder rooms. It's a great color. It's really, really kind of fun.
I thought of that other color, that turquoise. It's called Tidal Wave. It's a Benjamin Moore color, and you can look it up, you guys. I mean, y'all. It's brighter than I would normally do if the room didn't have a lot of other colors and wasn't kind of dark. Yeah, and then again, warmer colors when it's a darker room. Colors that have yellow or orange, even if you're not going full-blown yellow, full-blown orange. Colors that have those tones come from those hue families in them, even if they're neutralized somewhat. I just used a warm sort of caramel, but not exactly. It's an AF color, affinity, which I rarely use, and it's called Honeymoon in a sunroom. So obviously it didn't have a natural light problem. But it came off of a kitchen dining area that was lime white, I think, another really warm Benjamin Moore white. So we were staying warm on that part of the house, and that worked really well. But getting back to embracing dark colors for dark rooms, some that I like, Randolph Gray. Amy, I know that you mentioned that offline. I mean, that is one of my favorite colors. Oh my God, I loved it. And I've used it on millwork in living rooms, and I'm
glad to hear that.
I've done some incredible exteriors, a horse arena and a barn, both in Randolph Gray. I suggested it for shutters on a pink house. I think it is so fantastic. It's kind of in the world of the Millstone Gray, which we both like. Those like really muted green, like such a dark olive that you're not sure if it's green or if it's gray or what it is, but it's so great. And black bean soup if you want a really dark brown. I was on Instagram yesterday just schmoozing around, and I saw a living room or bedroom that another designer had designed, and it had wallpaper that was sort of an off-white background with a browny cognac design on it. The trim in the room was brown, and a lot of the bedding was brown. And I just thought, no one uses it. No one uses it. They think of it as being so masculine or possibly outdated. And I think not enough brown is used out there. I mean, there are beautiful browns, and it's so appropriate for so many different kind of spaces. But black bean soups are really dark brown, and I've used that on an exterior. And Rushing River, Deep River, those are dark ones as well. And then a few in Sherwin-Williams, Jasper and Inkwell, Raisin and Cascades. Those are a few. How about you, Amy?
Well, that Randolph Gray you mentioned, where I'm using that right now is in a new construction project in Maine that I'm working on. And the family entrance is a big mudroom. And then there's a small, basically a walk-through pantry that then emerges into a kitchen. And so we have this sort of tiny corridor hallway type pantry. And again, here we have a small, dark space. There's no lighting in here, there'll be obviously electrical lighting, but no natural light. And I said, why don't we go with something really dramatic, something really bold? Again, interestingly, the husband in this project was asking for black somewhere. I know. And this was my answer to black kitchen cabinets or a black island, was to use this Randolph Gray. So we are putting the Randolph Gray in the island in the kitchen. But this pantry is going to be Randolph Gray. And because it's so inherently dark, it's going to be like this little jewel boxy thing. And one of the things I love about doing dark colors, whether it's a dark foyer where you come into the house and you get this dramatic entrance, and then you walk into the larger spaces, and relatively speaking, the colors are lighter, brighter. And so what it creates is this sense of sort of enclosure in the smaller, darker spaces, such that when you move into the larger, brighter spaces, you get this really expansive kind of like somatic body experience of expansion. Frank Lloyd Wright used that. If you've ever been to like Falling Water, or that's the only Frank Lloyd Wright building I've been to, but he employed this technique in his architecture where he would have these teeny tiny, almost claustrophobic hallways. And so you'd get what he considered compression, physical compression from a small hallway. And I'm using that dark color to create the physical compression. And then you move into the larger space that opens up with the bright color, and that's the release. So it's compression and release. And so dark color, and then you emerge into this kitchen where things are lighter. I will say this kitchen is not going to be white. We're not going with a lighter colored kitchen. The cabinetry is going to be sort of like a mid-tone taupey gray-brown.
Love it.
And then the dark Randolph Gray on the island. The countertops are going to be marble. Lots and lots and lots of tile from counter to ceiling. So there'll probably be no paint in this room at all. There'll be some paint. That's not true. Probably going to match the paint to the tile when we find the tile, because that's turning out to be an exciting challenge. But anyway, that idea of compression and release, whether, it's one of my first clients here when I came to Massachusetts wanted colors of Provence. And so she's got beautiful rust colors and gold and yellow and really lovely, heartwarming colors. And I convinced her to paint her really dark foyer navy blue, a dark blue. And she literally called me 3 separate times before the painters showed up and said to me, "Tell me again why you want me to do this." Because it was counterintuitive. I mean, it's true. Just as we opened this show with this notion, it is counterintuitive to paint a dark room dark. But I explained that, there was just no way we were going to make it light and bright. This was a front foyer with a stairway, and there were white spindles on the staircase going up. Mm-hmm. And those also just sparkle against a darker color. darker grays in hallways, on stair walls, so that all that architectural detail of the stairs really shines. You put a white color there and then you've got the white spindles and they just kind of disappear. So anyway, we painted it navy blue. I think it was probably Van Dusen. And she later told me it was the most talked about room in her house. Cha-ching!
Great. Yeah. Ye of little faith. It's hard. It's hard to break points of view that you've held your whole life. And, humans gravitate towards light. Given a person has two houses or two apartments, identical, that they can go for, they can rent or buy. One has tons of natural light and one doesn't. Which are people going to take? I mean, as humans, we are drawn towards light. Think about that seasonal disorder that has to do with lack of natural light. We want it so badly. We don't even understand why we want it, but it makes us feel good. So it is counterintuitive to go dark in a dark space. But as you're right, as we started this segment off, you can't make it light. So let's make it something else. Let's make it dramatic. Let's make it fun. Let's make it surprising. And you can do all of that with a dark color or a bolder, brighter color or a pattern, wallpaper. Yay, wallpaper. Love it, Distract.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right.
Distract with drama. I like that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fun. I enjoy talking to you about color always, and dark colors and bold colors are certainly subject near and dear to our hearts, dear listeners, as you know. So,
yes. So until next time, thanks for spending a half an hour with us as we talk about color for the built world.
And if you would like to hear about something particular, you can find us at letstalkpaintcolor.com and send us a note. Let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear us talk about next. Take care.
And listeners, thanks so much for tuning in, because we just found out that our podcast is in the top 10% of the 3 million podcasts that are produced around the world a year. Yay, us. And yay you for listening.
Yeah, we could not do that without our listeners. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, until next time.
Bye.